Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I just have had something on my mind lately, and I think all of us can see that world events are really winding down. It seems like time is just racing by, and I wanted to talk to you about something today that is kind of one of my favorite topics. I have some things here on a little table right next to me, and I'll show you in just a minute what I'm talking about. But I think, especially if you're following our channel, you know that we believe that, there's certain things that we need to do to be prepared for the scenes that we're coming into here in our final moments. And of course, coming from a Christian perspective, we believe that the ultimate preparation that we need to make is spiritual, and making sure that we are spiritually ready, that we understand the biblical perspective. That's what our whole channel is about, is understanding how to connect with Christ and safely navigate through these final scenes without failing Christ like his disciples did in the final scenes of Christ's life here on earth. But what I wanted to talk to you about today in regards to preparedness has to do with a topic that those of you who know me know is very dear to my heart, and that is the topic of knives, blades. And you know that I'm kind of a bladeaholic, those of you who really know me. So I wanted to share with you why I believe that it's very important that you have the right tool for the right job. Now, if you're not accustomed to carrying a knife on a daily basis, you really don't understand how much you need one. And my husband, when I first married him, he didn't carry a pocket knife. I guess I've almost all my life carried one. Even when I was in high school, all the boys in school carried knives, and then there was me. I always carried a knife too. I guess I was kind of the oddball, but I just was raised in an environment where I always had it, and I feel like I'm not fully dressed unless I have it on me. And when I don't have it on me, I really feel a loss. And I can't tell you how many times I've been even at church, and there's been a need to cut something, strip a wire, fix something real quick that would work for the church service or whatever, try to hang a banner that fell or what have you. And none of the fellas had a pocket knife, and I had it with me. I even carry mine to church. Now, I am not of the mindset of, I'm going to slice somebody up with my knife. That's not why I carry a knife. I don't carry it as a self-defense weapon. I carry it as a tool, and it's a very vital tool. So if you've watched any of the survival shows on TV or any kind of YouTube channel on this, a lot of the people that are into the survival shows and stuff, they go off into the wilderness, and the only thing they have with them is a good knife, and if you have a lot of knowledge and experience, then a good knife will go a very long way toward helping you to survive in a situation where, let's say, there was some kind of civil unrest and you had to really get out of Dodge quickly. There's very few things you may have time to grab, but if you have a knife and you know how to use it, you can forage your medicine, you can forage for food, you can make things out in the wild. And so I wanted to just talk about some of my favorite knives, and I actually have a lot of favorites, but I'll show you the features that I like for different things. It's kind of like, a man that has a toolbox full of tools, and I say man kind of generically because I have a toolbox too, and everybody should. But you don't just have a flathead screwdriver. You may have Allen wrenches. You may have a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver and several sizes of Torx head screwdrivers. You get the point, even nut drivers. And so, this knife is not going to do maybe the same thing as this knife or a pocket knife or what have you. So let's just go over a few things about knives in general and why I believe that everybody should have at least 2 knives, a fixed blade and a folding knife. Now my folding knife is my EDC, or my everyday carry. Now I happen to have it, and I'll show you a picture. I'll drop in a picture in just a minute of how this actually rides in my pocket. My husband got this knife for me, I think July was 3 years ago. This is a Boker Kalashnikov Mini. Now these have been, I think certain kinds of these Kalashnikov Minis have actually been discontinued. I don't know that they've discontinued all of them. This knife is absolutely perfect for me. And my husband was so thoughtful when he got this for me, and I mean, he hit it out of the ballpark when he brought me this knife. He paid $55 for this knife. It has AUS8 steel, which is a very good steel. Now, I'm not a blade expert, so I can't really address the different qualities of blades or grinds, candy grind, and all these kind of different grinds. But I'm simply telling you, especially from a woman's perspective, what I like and what has worked for me. And, you know, I do have more knives than just this, but these are the ones that kind of shake out to the top for me all the time. So let me just address this Kalashnikov, this Boker Kalashnikov Mini. It is technically, I think, kind of illegal in some places because it's considered a switchblade. It's got an automatic opener. That feature my husband actually steered toward, because I've had 5 hand surgeries, and at the time he bought this for me, I was in the middle of all of that, and I didn't have a lot of hand strength. I'm regaining some of my strength now, but that feature has been so handy. You know, if I'm kind of in a bind, I may be holding some stuff and I need to just quit, you know, get it out. I don't, you know, some knives have a thumb assist that you can flip it out with your thumb, and that's good. I don't really like that feature, but it may be because I've never actually accustomed myself to it. I always just had one that you had to pull open. It was kind of a 2-hand open. But this push button open is just incredible. It is a clip knife, so it clips on my pocket, and it rides very deep. And I'll show you in this picture, you can see how this knife actually rides in my pocket. I think that the blade is only like 2.5 inches in length. The overall knife is probably just under 6 inches. And that's, for everyday use, that is absolutely perfect. Now, you're not going to baton wood and, you know, split firewood and stuff like that with this. I wouldn't want to bang on it that much. I don't want to break the spring assist in there. So I'm going to treat this, you know, I'm not going to do the things with this knife that I have done with this knife. This thing right here, and I'll talk about it more in just a minute, has taken an absolute beating from me. And it's like a Timex, you know, it's still going strong. So I'll talk about that more in just a minute. But for an EDC, or an everyday carry knife, this thing has served me very well. Now, I have had people tell me, yeah, that spring assist is going to break in a year or so. Maybe so. But I've had this for 3 years, and I have an extra. I just recently bought an extra just in case. And so if it does break, I still have a decent knife that I may have to pull open, but I also have a replacement. And I don't remember where the first place I heard this, but I'm sure you've heard it. 1 is none, and 2 is 1. So when it comes to knives, there's nothing wrong with having 2 folding knives, 2 fixed blade knives. But definitely, I believe you should have a folding knife and a fixed blade, okay? The folding knife goes with me literally everywhere. Of course, you know, when I'm out and about is what I mean. I even wear it around the house, and I often find myself, even doing my chores around the house, I'm whipping my knife out to do whatever, you know. It's just very handy. And you will not realize how handy it is if you don't carry one. My husband didn't carry one when I married him, but now he's in the habit of carrying one, and he told me just not too long ago, how did I ever function without a knife? So he's realizing the benefit of having it. He doesn't have to do things differently, or look over at me, hey, you got your knife on you? You know, he's ready. And that's the whole point of this, is being ready, being prepared, thinking, beginning to change your mindset, shifting it over to a mindset of everyday preparedness. And that's the kind of preparedness that is going to make us land a lot more softly in these future scenes, okay? Some of us are going to hit really hard. It's going to hit really hard when this stuff comes. Some of us that are preparing more and accustoming ourselves to certain things, it's going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be difficult for all of us, but it's going to be a little bit more easy to navigate. Now, while I'm on the topic of folding knives, Boker Kalashnikov Mini, I highly recommend it, especially for ladies with a small hand. If you can see, you know, it fits my hand very well. For a man, it may be a little small, but they have a bigger version. They have one that I think the blade is almost an inch longer, so you get a little bit more purchase on the handle on that one too. But for a lady, absolutely perfect. And the way they design the clip, it does not interfere with your grip at all, okay? And it's just a fabulous knife. I like the pointed tip, so, you know, if I need to do, you know, some fine, you know, pick something out or, you know, whatever, it's just I love the blade design and just an overall good knife. Now, my husband did recently purchase for me, he actually purchased us a pair of these for our anniversary, which is coming up soon. This is also a Boker. I think it's a Coyote, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little bit bigger. It's a fair amount bigger. You can see the difference between the Kalashnikov Mini and the larger Coyote. The only thing I don't like, and it's absolutely the only thing that I don't like about my Kalashnikov Mini, is there's no lock mechanism. And I have had this deploy in my pocket, and that is not fun. But if I'm careful, that's not a problem. It's only happened to me a couple times in maybe at the most a half dozen times in the 3 years that I've been carrying this, and it may have poked me, but it's never cut me. So, you know, anyway, that's the only thing that I don't like about it. Now, the Coyote, on the other hand, does have a locking mechanism. So you can lock and unlock the blade, and I believe that's either in the open or the closed position. So I think it's locked. I don't have my glasses on, but I'm trying to press the knife there and it will not open. But as soon as I unlock it, it's also an automatic. This has a lot more purchase on the handle. This is more of a kind of a man-sized blade, razor sharp, and I believe this is carbon steel. This is actually D2 steel, and D2 is, from what I understand, a little bit better quality even than the AUS8 steel. That's what I've been told. Again, I'm not an expert on blade tempers and materials, but at any rate, I really like this, but it's a little heavy for me for an EDC. So for my EDC, I really like the Boker Kalashnikov Mini. Very lightweight. The handle is aluminum. This one, I'm not sure what the handle is made out of. I'm sure you could find it online. But I really like the locking feature. I like that it's automatic. It had, both of them have a hole that you could put a lanyard or something on if you wanted to. And so, and I've got company trying to join me here, my friend's cat. So anyway, these are the two EDCs. This one, most likely, I would put like on the strap of my backpack or something like that. So Abby the cat is joining me in my lap here, so okay, Abby, you're gonna have to get down. Thank you. Okay, now let's move on to fixed blades. All right, I have here 4 different, and I'm what you might call a Moraholic. Mora Kniv is a Swedish knife maker. I have 4 that I brought with me to do this video. I'm actually out of town right now. And they're different purposes, different levels of quality and usefulness and stuff. But I'm just going to kind of go through these quick. I don't want to, you know, beat a dead horse to death here on these. This was my first Mora. And I'm not sure. I think this is the Mora Companion, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably around $25 now. You get a very good purchase on the handle. It is not a full tang knife. And what do I mean by full tang? Full tang means that the blade runs all the way through the handle. And why is that important? That's important because it makes your knife much stronger, and you can kind of see that if you have a knife that you're batoning with, you're banging through some wood or something like that, and you have a blade that runs completely through the handle, that's going to be a lot stronger than one, say, that runs 2/3, which is what this knife is. That said, Mora knives are just an incredible value for the money. Okay, we're back at it. We had quite a bit of interruption on that first part of the video, so I decided just to wait until I got back home. And so I was talking about the Mora knives that I have, that I own, and then I have another one here that I would like to mention as well. So when I left off on the other part of the video, I was talking about my Mora that I've had forever, and this, as I said, sells for about $25. It's a very good beginner's knife, but it's not a knife that I would be afraid to have nothing other than this in the wilderness. I mean, this is a very rugged knife. I have literally beat this thing to death, and lest I beat it to death in this video, I'm going to move on. But at any rate, very good knife, very good option. $25 price point. And then moving up in price point, before I move up, let me mention this one. I'm not familiar with all of the names necessarily of all the Mora knives, although I do know the next three I want to talk about. But this one is a little bit lighter duty than this green one that I have. It's a little bit smaller, and I can show you the difference between the blades there. You can see this green one, and one or the other of them. It may be this one. No, this I think is the 511. This is the companion. I think that's correct. At any rate, neither of them are full tang. The 511 is a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter duty. If you look at the blades, they're just a little, this one's a little heavier, this one's a little bit lighter. This would be a good kid's knife, a good lady's knife, a good beginner's knife, but you know, this is $25. This one right here, I think, is about $15. So almost anybody, especially in America, can afford a fixed blade Mora knife. And Mora just has an incredible reputation for quality, and the stainless steel blades, again, I don't know a lot about different, tempers and all that, different blade types, but I do know that the stainless steel blade is harder to sharpen, but it keeps an edge longer, and these are stainless steel, so while they may be a little bit harder to sharpen, they're going to stay sharp a little bit longer. And this is not a video about sharpening, so I'm not going to go in that. While we're on the lesser expensive, smaller Mora knives, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this little guy right here. When I first saw this advertised, I thought, oh, how cute, but I didn't really take it all that seriously, and then I decided to go ahead and get one. And I'll tell you, as soon as I pulled it out of the box, I thought, you know what? That's a serious tool right there. It comes right out of the box, absolutely razor sharp. And so it's ready to go. This is actually a neck knife. There's a couple of holes here in the tip of the sheath that you're supposed to be able to put a piece of, I've got some paracord over there. You're supposed to be able to put paracord, and of course I wouldn't want to wear a knife around my neck unless I had some kind of breakaway on it so that I could just grab it and jerk loose, because if I fell and that hung up on something, I could hang myself. But the difference between this one and these two have a rounded spine. This back part of the knife here is rounded so that you cannot strike a fire steel. I don't know what I did with my fire steel, but anyway, with the 90 degree on the spine here, you can really throw some sparks with that. So it's you can make feather sticks with this knife. You can drill holes, any kind of like fine carving where you need to be up close and have a really good tight control. Like if you're notching, And you can baton a little on this, but not, I mean, just for like tapping it down to make a notch in a piece of wood or something. You don't want to bang on this too much. You know, that's not its purpose. Its purpose is more for the fine carving where you really need good control and more of a focused effort. And if you're a guy with great big hands, you can just slide the knife into the handle and you have a larger handle. So this is the Eldris, and I think this is around, it's less than $30. It's between $25 and $30. It's, I mean, the thing weighs almost nothing. It's super, super light. I think it's like between 3.5 and 4 ounces with the sheath. So I mean, it's incredibly lightweight. So this would be a good backpacking knife. I think in Europe these are actually considered pocket knives because apparently they don't have a, you know, folding, you know, clip knives and stuff like we already talked about as much as we do here in America. Now we're moving up in price point just a little bit, and also quality and durability. So this one is actually called the Kansball. It's a little bit heavier if you compare it with one of the other two larger knives that I looked at already. It does have the nice grippy handle on it, so that, you know, if your hands are a little wet or maybe you get some oil or something on it, you're not going to slip as easily on this. One thing I have noticed about the Kansball is, like, if we're camping or something and I need to, say, chop up some vegetables or something, the tip of this one is a little thinner, so it's a little easier, I find, on the tip of this to do some fine chopping than it is, say, with some of the other ones. This one also has the 90-degree spine on the back, so that it's very easy also with this one to throw the sparks, and it really throws them. And just a really good knife, but it again is not full tang. It's probably a little over half or thereabouts. So yes, you can baton with this. Yes, you can do more heavy duty stuff, feather sticks, all the light stuff. It's going to be a little harder for me to control this, to do some of the fine stuff that I might be able to do, say, with the little Eldris. This is a really good one for all that fine stuff where you really need a grip and you really need to not slip with something like this. So this is a good all around, little bit better quality, has the spine, the 90-degree on the spine. You can throw sparks with it off of a ferro rod. Little bit nicer handle than my green knife, which I think is a companion. So if I compare them weight for weight, you can see that the blade shape is a little bit different. I really like the shape of the Kansball. I don't know necessarily that I would choose it over my green one. I wouldn't be disappointed to have just my companion, although this is definitely an upgrade. This also comes with a mounting system called the multi-mount, which is very convenient. You can mount this knife, the sheath that it came with, it has a frame that you can actually mount like on the shoulder strap of a backpack, and then you have it and you can just unsheath it whenever you need it, or you can mount it on a wall or something like that. But I have it in a belt sheath. Now moving up in quality again, this is called the Garberg, and if you take the Garberg out of its sheath and you hold it comparison, you know, with some of the other knives or what have you, you're going to notice an immediate difference. The Garberg is much heavier, and the reason for that, I don't know that there's a huge difference. The blade thickness is definite, but it's not a massive difference. The tip of the I mentioned the tip on the Kansball kind of narrows down a little bit. That's good for chopping vegetables and stuff. But on the Garberg, it's heavy all the way through. This is also full tang. And a really cool feature about it is that on the end, the blade comes all the way out the end of the knife, and without unsheathing, you can throw sparks off of a ferro rod with this knife, but it also has the 90-degree spine. This knife price points at about, I think, $90-ish, $90, depending on which mount that you get with it. But again, it comes out of the box razor sharp. Every Mora I've ever gotten is razor sharp right out of the box. This is actually carbon steel. Carbon steel doesn't hold an edge as long as stainless steel, but it's easier to sharpen. Okay, I really like the Garberg. If I could choose which one I wanted to take with me when I have to walk off into the wilderness and never come home, it would be this, as far as fixed blade. Nice knife, heavy duty, full tang. You can do a lot more batoning with it because it's full tang. You're not going to break the handle as readily. Has a lanyard in it, a lanyard hold where you can, put a rope in it or something if you want to. It has the 90-degree on the spine as well as here on the tip, so you could throw sparks with that. So I think it's the gray bearded green beret. He has a video on the Garberg, and he considers this the best bushcraft knife on the market. $90 price point, thereabouts. So if you want to consider a good fixed blade, I think Mora is a really good choice. I know that there's a lot of knife makers out there. I have friends that make knives. My brother-in-law makes knives, really nice knives. My friend Christopher Fisher made the PTS, which is full tang. I have a couple videos on that. Very good knife. Definitely not an EDC knife. It's more of I have a video on it. It's more of a machete, small hatchet type knife. But at any rate, if you need a fixed blade, and you do, you might want to consider the Mora. I really like the little Eldris. Super lightweight. It's not one that you're going to do a lot of heavy-duty bushcraft stuff with, but it weighs almost nothing. So I mean, why not have an extra knife with you? So at any rate, at the risk of rambling, I'm going to end there and just encourage you on every level to really be preparing fast. And if you don't understand all that's going on in the world, my husband has a series of videos called Prophetic Insights, and I'll put a link to that playlist in the description below, and just encourage you to be ready on every level. We'll see you on the next video.